All right, everybody, this is a course on the GPS, the 135 that Keller Williams is known for. I'm going to share my screen quite a bit today, and we're going to make sure that the goal of today's class is that you finish this class and you know exactly what you need to do every week, every month, every day to hit your goal, okay? So this is going to be recorded. I will upload a copy to our Roswell Rockers Facebook group. You can cross-reference it at all times, okay? If at any time you can't hear me or I'm fuzzy or something like that, just poke me and wave to me and we'll address it one by one, okay? Okay, I want to make today's class as interactive as possible. I've got a kind of a sample on how I would create the 135 here. So I've done some prep work, but I'd like for you guys to also help me with putting the kind of shouting out some ideas, and I'll kind of guide you through that a little bit. Again, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you know exactly what you need to be accomplishing each day and each week and each month so that you're in line to hit your goals. Now, one thing that we normally do, the purpose of a GPS is it is a simple business planning or planning tool that you can match with any big goal that you have. So oftentimes the big goal that a lot of agents have when they do this at the beginning of the year, at the very end of the year, is to say, I want to make X number of dollars, or I want to sell 30 homes, or whatever it may be. This tool can also be used for non-real estate goals as well. So let's say I want to lose 20 pounds this year.
Yeah. What
or
is that?
I want to buy an investment property this year, or I want to take my family on a cruise, something of that nature, right? So what is the goal? The GPS stands for goals, priorities, strategies. What is the main goal, right? What are the 3 priorities that need to occur in order of priority in order for that goal to happen? And then what are the 5 strategies that you need to execute on for each of the priorities to occur so that the goal occurs? So look, if you can look at this document here, I'm going to just pull this up really quickly, and I will show you a blank copy of what that essentially looks like, okay? So my one thing for the year is I want to sell 20 homes. There are 3 priorities that I need to achieve in order for my one thing to happen, right? And we list them here, here, and here. The next thing we're going to do is say, what are the up to 5 strategies that we're going to employ or to execute on?
There's nothing
in order to execute on priority number 1.
There's nothing on the screen.
When 3 priorities occur, the goal occurs.
There's nothing on the screen.
So
we don't
in the past, I had.
Bill.
Were you guys able to see that?
No.
No, we don't have your screen.
No. All right, let's try that again. Has failed to start your Windows selected as invalid.
I thought it was
All right.
a recorded video because he wasn't responding.
Bill would not listen to us.
All right, can we see it now?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So again, this is a tool that can be used for any goal that you have. Let's just take a business goal, for example. If you look here, my one thing for the year is blank. Let's say that is to sell 25 homes. In order to sell 25 homes, what are the 3 priorities that I need to execute on in order for that one thing to occur? And each of those priorities is going to have 5 strategies that are going to be executed on so that priority gets achieved, so that ultimately the one thing, the goal, gets achieved. So we're going to start putting some substance to this here in a second, but this is essentially the format, okay? This particular format was downloaded for free from theonething.com. Yeah. By the way, there's a lot of free resources on that site, as well as I'm a big fan of their podcast. So if you've not checked that out, I highly, highly recommend that. Okay, so as we go through the exercise today, this is the form that we're going to be using, okay? So what I want to do is identify, one last thing. Typically, this is a goal. This is a document that is filled out at the beginning of the year. And you would say, my goal is to sell 25 homes in the next 12 months. And these are the activities that I got to do in order to achieve that. Okay. What I want to walk through with you today is what a lot of the KWRI people are talking about as a 90-day GPS. So rather than this being an annual goal, this is what do I want to accomplish in the next 90 days? And what are the exact priorities and strategies that I need to execute on in order for that 90-day goal to happen? As I mentioned, you can use this tool for any type of goal. So for example, to prove to myself many years ago that it was time to hire an assistant, I created a 135 for my non-existent assistant to prove to me that I had a list of at least 15 things that were never going to get done unless somebody else did it for me or with me. Okay. These are things that have been on my list for years and years and years and never quite made it to the top of the list. And so I created a 135 on somebody to control the chaos of my real estate sales team, right? And that touched on marketing, contract to close, listings management, setting appointments, all that kind of stuff. I said, I want to make $100,000 in profit share within 5 years annually. That's a big goal, obviously. How is that going to happen? And I drew out that plan, and I'm well on my way towards that goal right now. So any goal that you have, family related, business related, this is a tool that can be used. Okay. So right now I've got a couple of these. I've got one for my role as productivity coach. I've got one for my sales team. I've got one for my assistant. I've got one for profit share, right? And those commitments are then translated to the 411, which therefore are translated to my calendar so I can have the appropriate amount of time blocked. Any questions so far? Okay. So I just took a consensus of kind of what I hear very often speaking with agents of all experience levels and all production levels. And I said that the goal that I was going to illustrate today was going to be in the next 90 days to close 6 units. Okay. So that is an average of, let's just say 2 per month. So between today and 90 days from now, I want to have 6 closings. Does anyone believe that that is a goal that is out of reach?
It's reachable.
Stop.
It is.
Somebody confirm that you're there.
I think it's reachable.
If you prioritize and follow the right steps, it's reachable.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, you can't
we
hear
can hear you.
us?
Okay. Why are you guys all on quiet?
I said something.
I'm not. Bill, you cannot hear us. Go to chat.
Somebody say something because I can't hear you.
Bill, we're all talking.
Yes.
Bill, we are.
We're all talking.
Uh-oh.
We can hear you.
We're all talking.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
talking.
Let's see if I can figure out why I cannot hear you.
It's not a problem.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can
can
hear
hear
you.
Can you hear us now?
Hear you.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but maybe we can use the chat box quite a bit. So we can hear you. Thank you, Heather. Does anyone think 6 units over 90 days is out of line? No. Okay, great. So what we're going to do is go to, now the one thing that this presupposes is that you know what your goals are. So if you do not know what your goals are, we need to have a different chat. We have agent mentors, we have the productivity coaching program, we have the leadership team, we have the agent leadership council, we have Aubrey as the team leader. All of us are able to use the tools of Keller Williams to help make sure that you know what you should be doing at all times. Okay, I checked that.
Oh, sorry.
If you have any issue with setting goals or you're unclear on what that looks like or what's realistic, what's not realistic, let us know. Let me know. Okay. So a couple of things. My goal is to sell 6 units in the next 90 days. Okay. So when I go to my economic model, which I will share with you right now. Okay, can everyone see this? Yes? Okay. I kind of nerded out on this spreadsheet here, and it is essentially an economic model that accounts for just about everything. And what I did is I want to create 6 transactions over the next 3 months. So what this is telling me is that I need to take 2 listings per month on the buyer side and 2 on the seller side. And I need to go on 3 listing appointments, rounded up, per month for the sellers and 3 listing appointments per buyer. Okay. And then I'll have 1 closing from a seller and 1 closing from a buyer. And I will make $63,000 over the course of the next 3 months. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that that would have a pretty big impact on our lives. Is that correct? Okay, wonderful. Now, what we're going to do, now we have what I call our big rocks. Okay, our big rocks are simply, I need to go on 6 appointments in the next, 6 appointments in the next month, roughly half buyer, half seller. I need to take 4 listings, roughly half buyer, half seller. A listing, buyer listing would be a buyer brokerage agreement, and a seller listing obviously would be a seller listing agreement. And then close 2 units, ideally 1 buyer, 1 seller. So I sit at the closing table twice a month. I have taken 4 listings a month, so a total of 12 listings that I'll take over the next 90 days. And I will go on 18 appointments. Everyone follow me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So number 1, the goal would be at the very top of the page should be, I'm going to close 6 units in the next 90 days, starting, let's say, May 1st. So May, June, July. By the end of July, I should have 63 grand in my pocket. By the way, I was using 350 as an average sales price, 3% commission on both sides. That's where the 63,000 came out. So if you're selling homes less than 350, you probably make a little bit less. If you're selling homes on average a little bit more than 350, obviously you'll make a bit more. Okay. So the one goal is, and it has to be in metrics, right? We have to be able to say, did we do it? Black and white, yes or no. So the one goal is 6 closings in the next 90 days by the end of July of 2020. Okay. Now, in order for that to happen, I know that I've got to hit a couple metrics. Now, the one that I can control the most is how many appointments am I going to set? What happens as a result of those appointments is going to be based on who I'm meeting with, which is going to be based on who I called and how I pre-approved them or pre-qualified them, and my skill in presenting, most likely virtually. By the way, if you don't have a Zoom account, personal Zoom account, that you can in 2 seconds begin a listing presentation or buyer presentation, you need to get one before you put your eyes on the pillow today. Okay, this is a tool forever. We're probably not going back. This is a tool forever. We just got to get used to it. Okay, that's the one thing that we can control. Okay, how many appointments are we going to go on? Our conversion rates and our ability to bulletproof the transaction is going to be what dictates how many units close and how many listings that we actually take. So not only do we have to monitor how we're doing with those conversions, but we may need to readjust. So after the first 30 days, for example, if we realize that we're not meeting with $350,000 clients and instead we're meeting with $200,000 clients, then we may want to call off of a different list. We may want to get purposeful about going higher on the price range so that it'll ultimately average out. So you got to pay attention to how you're forecasting those conversion rates. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Stop me again if you have any questions. So just type it in the box. I think we're having some audio issues. Just type it in the box. Okay. So number 1 goal is 6 units, 90 days. Now let's make this interactive for a second. We're going to come up with 3 priorities that we would need to execute on in order for those 6 units over the next 90 days to close. Let's throw out some ideas on what those priorities might be. Remember, I think we're having some audio issues and I don't want to stop the, oh, I think I can hear you.
Testing 1, 2.
Never mind. All right, type it in, please. Contact 20 people a day. Good. So that is probably going to be more like a strategy. We'll come back to that in a second.
Got it.
Okay. Who else? Anyone else? Make appointments? Yes, that's definitely one. Okay. So I'll tell you the three that I have in mind. And you guys can, we certainly can edit these along the way. In order for this one goal to take place, three main things are going to happen, in my opinion. Number one is we're going to have to set some appointments.
Get your ass down. Get down.
I don't know what you're freaking out about, Kim, but I can't see anything. Don't worry. Okay. I can't hear anyway. Okay, so we need to set some appointments. Secondly, I believe that we're going to need to add people to our database. Okay. And thirdly, I think you're going to need some accountability. Okay. So here are the things that I came up with. I'm going to hang on just a moment. Okay. Let me share my screen again. And we'll type out this together. Okay. So we're going to do 6 units in 90 days by end of, we'll say, by July 31st. Okay. One rule of thumb when you're dealing with the 135 or the GPS is that everything needs to be in metrics. So for example, calling my sphere, that's not clear enough. If I make one phone call, then technically I've called my sphere. However, that's not going to give you the results you're seeking. So every time that you write something on this page, you should ask yourself a question to say, how would I know I did it? Right? Can I check this off? You know, can somebody look at what I wrote, saw what I did, and say, yeah, they did that. They've worked. Let's sign off, right? So 6 units in 90 days, we're going to do that by July 31st, okay? Our priority number 1, we're going to say is appointments. However, we can't just say appointments. We need to know how many appointments are we going to go on. So what we said is we got to do 6 per month. Oops. Per month for a total of 18. Okay, half buyer, half seller. Make sense? Okay. Somebody type something in the chat really fast because I've got a bunch of windows open. I want to make sure that I can see the chat. Okay, there we go. All right, very good. What's up, Mel? Okay, so we know we need to go on 6 appointments per month. The next one we're going to say is that we're going to have to add some people to our database. Okay, so that's not good enough. It's not clear. So what do we need to do? We need to add some numbers to it. So what do we think we need to, how many people do you think you need to add to your database in order for this goal to occur? And I would suggest, number 1, that you have a goal for how many people you're going to add to your database each day anyway. One goal that I've been putting out there that I think applies to agents of really any experience level and any production level is to have a goal to add 2 people to your database per day. Okay, 2 people per day. When I say adding somebody to the database, I'm suggesting that you would add somebody to the database because you had a real estate related conversation with them and they are what I would call a nurture. A nurture would be somebody that has the following criteria. They have a name and you know it, email, cell phone, ideally address, but not necessarily, ideally mailing address, because there's a lot of stuff we can do with somebody from a value standpoint if we have their mailing address. They have a real estate related goal, and they do not have a committed relationship with a real estate agent, meaning this is somebody that I might be able to help in the future. Okay. And even if they tell me they have like a loose relationship with a realtor, I'm probably going to add them anyway. Okay. So let's just say we're gonna keep on that goal. Actually, let's bump it up a little bit. Let's say we're gonna do 3 a day, because we're really pushing now, because we're gonna have to. It's harder to find the motivated, right? There's a lot of scared buyers out there. There's a lot of scared sellers out there. Deals are not working out to the conversion rate that they're typically. So let's say we're gonna add 3 people a day. We're gonna work. How many days a month do you want to work? 25? 20? How about 20? 20 fair? I'll give you a third of the month off. A third of the month. You can make over $20,000. Yeah. Hang on one sec. I'm just going to unshare the screen really fast so I can do the muting. Okay, so let's say we're going to add 20 people, or we're going to work 20 days and add 3 people each day. So that's 60 people. We're going to add 180 people to our database over the course of the next 3 months. Does anyone believe that's crazy? Does anybody have any hesitation that that is possible? Okay, good. And the next thing I would suggest that we need to do is accountability. Hang on one second, everybody. Okay, working from home. All right, let's go back to the share of the screen. Okay, accountability. So I think accountability, let's leave it vague just for a second, because accountability is going to look a lot different for a lot of different people. And now we're going to go in and we're going to add the 5 strategies, or up to 5 strategies, that will make getting these 6 appointments possible. Will make adding 180 people to the database possible, and that will really spell out what accountability means to each of us. Okay? All right, does anyone have any questions so far? Does anyone believe that we have left out something that is very important in order to accomplish the 6 unit in 90-day goal? It's coffee, I promise. Okay. Okay, let me see what people are saying. All right, beautiful. Okay, so let's do some brainstorming together. What activities or what strategies can we employ? Good. So that we can make sure that we get these 6 appointments over the course of the next month, for a total of 18 over the next 3 months. Again, I know what they are. I know what some of them could be, but I'd like to hear what you guys say. Yep. So we're going to have some contacts. Absolutely. Facebook ads. Very good. So contacts. Let's start with the number of contacts. Lots of calling. Not sure 20 will be enough for this big goal. Good. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So again, if it's going to depend on who you're calling, right? If you're calling circle prospecting, you're gonna have to talk to more people than you would if you were calling BizBos or expireds. If you're calling sphere of influence, yes, you got to do kind of the check-in, so to speak, before you go and clobber them over the head for business, right? And they don't necessarily have an immediate need, right? If you're calling referrals, that's a little bit of a different story. In my research, taking all of the lead sources into account, this is what I have always run the numbers off of. You need to have 20 contacts, which is a two-way real estate related conversation. Okay, 20 contacts with a seller in order to book an appointment on average, and 50 contacts with a buyer on average in order to book an appointment. Okay, so that's why we recommend obviously tracking your contacts, right? Remember, we're all business owners, and business owners, the evidence that you're working, the evidence that you run and own a business is the stats, right? That's why they, in sports, they keep track of everything. They keep track of the minutes you play, how many foul shots you take, how many foul shots you make, what the percentage is it going up or down year to year, right? Everything is numbers. So we track for example, the number of hours we spend, the number of hours we spend generating leads, the number of contacts we have to make sure that we're efficient, the number of appointments that we make, the number of appointments that we actually hold, right? There may be some fallout between make and hold. Then we track how many times when we sit in front of a buyer or seller, do we make our full presentation to them, and then they agree to work with us exclusively, right? They quote, give us the listing, right? We take the listing. And then what's the fallout from that? Once we get a listing, is there any fallout between that and the time it goes under contract? Yeah. What percentage? And then you got to look at what is the percentage of the fallout between the time you get a contract and you actually close, right? All of us have probably lost a deal in the past. Where did you lose it and why? Was it preventable? Can you increase your systems or your contacts or your expectations in order to improve those ratios or improve those statistics? What they did in Bold was they said you had to come up with a number that says, okay, just do this and make it uniform and teach the 50,000 people that are enrolled in Bold to do it. And sometimes people can get stuck in the minutia of, should I have 11 or should I have 12 and a half or should I have 4? Well, I only work part-time, so blah, 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 blah. Let's just go with 20. Okay. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Let's go with 20. So we're going to do 20 contacts per day. If we've had 20 conversations a day, we've worked. If we have not had 20 conversations a day, we have not worked. And if you can put up enough data to support the fact that you only need 8 contacts a day in order to book 6 appointments a month, fine. Whatever you're doing is working. If you don't have enough data to prove that to me or yourself or any of your peers, then just make 20 contacts a day until you can prove otherwise. Is that fair? All right. I got the chat box pulled up so I can see as you guys are talking. So Facebook ads, I agree. I was going to do Facebook ads probably down here, but I think that actually, if you think about it, some of these concepts will like 20 contacts a day could also be down here. So the things that are here and the things that are here, there's a little gray area. They could be both. So I would say that let's just do 2 different things. One is a social media plan, okay? And that might be you post, you have a schedule, like let's say a daily post. Okay, Monday it might be something about how many homes went under contract over the weekend. Tuesday it might be about how many new listings that came onto the market. Wednesday it might be something about a new listing that you're advertising. Thursday, it might be, you know, what's going on in the community that you think is relevant to share. Friday, it may be some piece of, you know, something kind of gratitude wise, or something that's kind of cute, or advertising an event that's coming up, something of that nature, right? So it's not just listed, right? Pam, who's on the call, spent some time yesterday sharing some of her efforts on social media, which were really unique and inventive, and I suspect they're working really well. So you need a social media plan, right? When are they posted? Are you designing it? If so, what time of the day are you designing it? Meaning, if you're going to do the designing, you need to have that time block so that nothing gets in the way of that happening, right? So as you can see, as we're developing this, we're basically creating a bunch of stuff that's got to get done in your organization. And depending on where you are in the course of your business, either yourself or somebody on your team is going to be executing that, or somebody that you hire, right? Somebody from Fiverr could do the graphics, or you could have a marketing specialist designing a branding package, depending on what kind of money you're able to devote to this, right? You know, are you blogging? Are you writing the content? Are you taking it from somewhere else? You know, that kind of thing. Okay, so social media plan. Down here, I'm just going to put command ads, right? Now, command ads here, you might want to say, I will devote, let's say, $100 a month to this effort. Okay. According to my research, the average lead online is about $55 a lead. Through command, we're seeing leads as on average about $1, just a hair above $1 per lead. Is there anyone on this call that would not trade $100 for 100 leads? If I could guarantee you a lead for $1, how many leads would you buy from me? Write it on the chat. Lots. Okay, your job is to 100. Good. Let's start. Okay, I'm not just telling you that out of the blue. These are proven statistics, right? Yes, they're if set up properly, they're going to feed right back into your command system. Okay, so go watch some videos. Sam's got a great YouTube channel. There's a 66-day challenge on command, which you can devote like 8 or 10 minutes per day to learning something about command. That's Marty Miller. There's Nick Baldwin. There's KW Command is a Facebook page. There's Command Your Conversion is a Facebook page. You can reach out to Sam. You can watch some of his videos on how to design an ad within designs on command, and then post the ad. I get lots and 100. So maybe why don't you try $10 and see what happens? Because the second you get a lead, you're going to be hooked. And then maybe the next week you can go to $15. The next week you can go to $25, whatever it is. If you're looking for evidence that it works, just throw a couple bucks at it and see what happens. It works. Okay. Now, in addition to these ideas, what else can we put for the techniques that we're going to use to get these appointments?
I'm just testing. Can you hear me?
How about DTD2?
Yeah.
Does anyone know what this is?
Yeah.
DTD2 is, you guys are all there, right? You can hear me okay?
Yes.
DTD2 is essentially a plan that came from Bold that tells you each week you're going to contact people that are in your database whose last names start with, this week is H as in Harry and V as in Victor. And you're going to text people whose last names start with a certain letter also. This week is T as in Tom, okay? And actually, I just saw a COVID accelerated version of DTD2 yesterday, which basically doubles up, just saying, hey, we got to get to our people fast and check in on them, make sure they're okay. So they're actually giving you 4 letters of the alphabet each week, and you contact every single person in your database whose last name ends in that letter. One of the things that they found is that solves what they call call reluctance. So call reluctance is to say, okay, I helped a buyer 2 years ago, and at the end of the transaction, kind of things went a little south, and it closed, but the guy was a little pissed off about how the home wasn't cleaned as much as he thought it should be cleaned, and so I'm kind of afraid to call him. Right? That's call reluctance. So you'd say, not today. I'm not going to call him. DTD2 psychologically says, well, I said I'd call everyone with the last name that starts with H, so his last name is Harris. I'm going to call him because that's what I have to do, because I'm trying to hit 6 units in 90 days, right? And I'll promise you this, it's going to be stranger tomorrow, okay? It's going to get even stranger the next day. So just call him, okay? He's probably already forgotten, all right? Now, DTD2, if you commit to this plan, then you will book some appointments. At the very least, you will add some people to your database, okay? So we're going to commit to DTD2, okay? Make sense? All right, beautiful. If you have not looked, there is, I'm trying to think of how I can get this to you. I'll talk to Lucy about this, but most likely what we can do is just post a link for this. Can everyone see this?
Yeah, well,
This is Agent Pivot Scripts. This is a document that KWRI put out yesterday or 2 days ago. It's about 45 pages of scripts that you should be using when you're speaking to your database now. So this includes checking in scripts, reluctant buyer scripts, reluctant seller scripts, pricing issues. I want to take a home off the market because of COVID. It has a lot of text, all kinds of stuff. So this is a wealth of information for you guys, okay? And this is, a lot of times people are afraid to call because they don't know what to say. This is what to say, okay?
Bill, I'm
Here's a
sorry.
good script in here.
Bill,
Okay.
where did you say it was?
Hi, this is Bill Linkwald with Keller Williams Realty. Do you have a couple of minutes? The purpose of my call is to check in with you. How are you doing? How is your wife, husband, spouse, family, kids? How is the company you work for doing? Are you able to stay home and be safe? I would like to give you my cell phone number so that you can reach out if there's anything that I can do to help you, like pick up groceries, pick up medicines, deliver something. May I give you my number now? Also, if you know of anyone that's in a desperate situation, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do to help. I have a lot of resources available to help people, right? Notice we did not say, do you know of anyone that wants to buy real estate, sell real estate, or invest in real estate that I can call today? I'm in a contest. Follow? So if you don't know what to say, don't just not know what to say. I'll post those a little bit later on the Facebook group, or we'll figure out how to communicate them to you. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll make sure we get it out to you. You could probably also look on KW Connect and download it very quickly, but I'll see if I can make it easier for you. Okay. This is what to say. So there shouldn't be any reluctance. If you're ever in a situation where you don't know who to call or what to say, speak up to one of our leaders so we can squash that right away. Okay, because not knowing what to say or who to call, that's just going to cause inaction. And this plan is all about action. Cool? Okay, what else could we do? So I'll throw another idea out. We have an agent that did this about a week ago, and we've probably had a bunch of agents that have done something like this, where she reached out to a friend of hers who is a life coach, and I've seen this happen with like a financial planner or a tax person or something like that, where they hosted a joint Zoom like seminar, if you will, right? And rather than just having a Zoom seminar that you send out to your audience, you combine it with 1 or 2 or 3 other professionals that can each give some content related to what their area of expertise is. and then it gets exposure to all of their audience that they're going to send the message to, right? So maybe you can talk a little bit about the PPP or the extension for taxes, or what's going on in the real estate world. Thank you so much, Heather, for that. Very, very kind of you. So what data can you share from a real estate perspective, and how would that marry with another professional so that you can add your audience to their audience and therefore get some more exposure, right? And then you can set up the Zoom meeting where they have to register, right? And you can identify what the required, data is. So like they have to put an email address or they have to put a cell phone number in order to be admitted, right? And therefore you can follow up with them afterwards, right? You can have the other person do an introduction email, to say, hey, this person is, managed this and ran this and created this and sold this number of homes, and this is why she's an expert, right? So can you add, so you can increase exposure by Zoom meetings with other pros. And again, because we need to add metrics to this, we could say we're going to do this once a month. Let's just say that's what we do. Okay. And we are going to, Kathy mentioned this one. I'm going to put this one down here. I'm going to call expireds. So what expireds are you going to call? How many are you going to call? Right. So I'm going to have, let's say 10 per day that I'm actually speaking with. And I'm going to call old expireds that are at least 6 months old. Okay, so it's what are you going to do? And number one, and number two is how do I know you did it? Make sense? Okay, another one that you might do up here is make a goal to share your app with, let's say, 5 people a day, right? So when you're on the phone with these 20 people per day, right, you're at least 5 of them, you're saying, hey, there's this new piece of technology that it's new to us as agents. And, I'm just sharing it with some of my favorite people. And I just want to hear your feedback on it. We have designed it specifically to make, you're able to search for neighborhoods. You're able to share with me what your favorites are and write notes and these kind of things. And what we found is people are liking this app more than Redfin and Zillow. And we're improving it every single day. Would you download it and let me know what you think? Boom. Meanwhile, they're in your ecosystem. Now you know everything they want. And when something changes, they tell you they want a 3-bedroom home in Marietta, and all of a sudden they're searching for a 4-bedroom home in Ackworth, right? And you can check in with them and make sure that you're delivering on what they want. So do I have a goal to share the app with 5 people per day? Something like that. All right, shout out some other ideas. Okay, another one you could do down here is a virtual home buyers seminar. Doesn't necessarily have to be for first-time home buyers, right? You could share the data from Chartmasters that makes that suggests that, let's say, from about 450, 500 and below, you're looking at a pretty strong seller's market, even in the light of COVID. However, above 500 roughly, you're starting to see signs of a pretty strong buyer's market. So it's actually pretty unique in a metro area where you could you could sell in a seller's market and turn around and buy in a buyer's market in the same town, right? You could have a seminar on the stats that prove that that's a viable option, right? And not only that, but when they buy, they can buy historically low interest rates. This is I just read this the other day. This is a very unique, I don't want to call it a blip, but this is what I believe is probably a temporary, strong opportunity for buyers, right? Because sellers are freaked out that you got to look like an astronaut to come into a house and see it. And they're worried that they're not going to sell their home. Whether the data supports that or not, they're freaking out. And the buyers should be in there trying to be as aggressive as possible, trying to capture a seller who is freaking out. Okay. And once things go back to a little bit normal, that advantage is going to disappear. This is a temporary blip that buyers should be taking advantage of. That's your job as the economist of choice, as their trusted advisor, as their advocate, to go out there and share this news with the public and with your audience so that you can help people, build wealth. That's what we do, right? So how can you get a virtual buyer seminar where you're sharing some statistics about the marketplace? Maybe you invite an attorney to join you on that so you can get some of their people, or invite Kathy from Shelter on that to discuss how the mortgage rates and what new mortgage products are available or what's not available, or how to best qualify, or how to best clean up your credit if that's an issue, that kind of thing. Okay. Did anyone attend a few weeks ago the 5 o'clock cocktail hour thing that the office did? Right, Robin? I mean, that we had a great turnout. Everyone seemed to have a great time. I thought that was awesome. Why couldn't you do that, something like that for your database, right? And you could come up with some type of unique thing. Maybe like the one I thought of earlier today was like, what about like a wine tasting, right? So everyone goes and they grab a bottle of wine, and then at 7 o'clock at night, you all tune in, and then you taste it and tell people what you're, I don't know much about wine tasting, but what you're noticing, or what the notes are, or what the aftertaste is, or whatever. Like, come up with something creative and spunky that causes people, that doesn't have to be salesy, it doesn't have to be about houses, that causes people to have fun and get value, right? So it's not just about slinging homes 24/7. People are really hurting right now. And I'll tell you what, the other day I walked outside and my wife was having like a 25-minute conversation with the 11-year-old across the street. Like, people are dying to talk to people. Like, dying to talk to people. Like, we've been, in our house for 2 months now, and all you got to do is get somebody on the phone and they'll talk to you like crazy. Just ask some questions, and eventually you'll find there's a real estate opportunity in there somewhere. Make sense? Right? So what we'll call this group Zoom ideas, right? What are we going to do? We're going to do that, let's say, once a month. Okay. How else are we going to add people to our database? I don't know. Maybe let's call vendors. If you've been to Bold, they have the vendor exercise where you call the local restaurant owner, or you call the local dry cleaners, you call the local nail salon, or you call the local painting company, whatever it is, and say, hey, I'm just checking on some local businesses right now. I'm Heather, and I work at the local Keller Williams office, and I just called to see how you're doing. Is there anything that I can do to support your business right now? Right? And he says, you know what? We just started this campaign where we're going to do 30% off of pressure washing, or we're going to clean your gutters for free when we paint the outside of your home. Okay, awesome. I'll share that with my database. Do you think that vendor would be grateful for that? Of course. The next time that vendor has an opportunity to support somebody's business, who do you think they're going to call? Likely you. What if you did that with 50 vendors? Now it's like you have this sales team out there working when you're not working, or multiplying the efforts that you're out there when you're trying to find more buyers to help buy and sellers to help sell. Does that make sense? So a lot of these ideas are not just relevant for COVID, they're relevant for being in business, right? The more people that know you and know what you do and the value you provide, that is the more opportunity you're going to get to help buyers buy and sellers sell. If you and your mother are the only people that know you're a real estate agent, it's going to be a tough journey, right? With all due respect to my mother, I've gotten one lead from her in 15 years. Okay. and that person wanted to pay me 1%. So thank God I'm not relying on her. Does that make sense? I love you, Mom, if you're listening, but I do help people buy homes and sell homes. So just, send them my way. Okay. What else? So some of this stuff you don't like, we can keep coming up with ideas, but another idea, vendors. So let's say we're going to call 10 a month or 10 a week, something like that. Okay. Another idea that you could come up with is adding your people to the neighborhood nurtures, right? Where they get the link and they can always go to that. It's an active link. What do you call it? Not a live link, Robin, you know what I'm talking about probably. Where you can click on the link at any time and it constantly updates. And so they can see, what new listings have come onto the market, what the activity is, what the average days on the market is, that kind of stuff, a live link. You can call people and get their address and say, hey, we got this cool new feature, want you to test it out. Would you prefer that I send it to you once a month or twice a month? Right? Well, once a month would be good. But if you said, would you like me to send it to you? They say, no, I get too much email. Right? So ask them a question in a way that you're going to get the answer you want to get. Okay? Anyone have any questions thus far? What did I just do?
Can you hear me now?
You guys are awful quiet.
Well, can you hear me? I'm testing again.
All right. Everyone's still
Other
there?
people can hear me. Yes.
Okay.
Nancy, we can hear you, but Bill cannot hear us.
Next,
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability. Would you agree? I'll give you one of two options. Person number one, or let's say one of three options. All three people want to lose 25 pounds between now and the end of the year. Person number one is going to get on the scale at the beginning of every month and weigh themselves. Person number two is going to get on the scale once at the beginning of every Monday morning and weigh themselves. And person three is going to weigh themselves every day when they get out of bed. Which person do you think is going to have the best shot at losing the weight?
Well, we can't answer.
Type in the box if you would. I can't hear you.
1, 3. Person number 4, who goes to the gym.
Getting an overwhelming response, and it looks like everyone's saying 3. Thank you. So the more accountability that you allow into your life, the better the results are going to be. Okay, so if you know that in order to hit this 90-day goal, you need to book 6 appointments. I'm sorry, you need to hold 6 appointments. So you might need to book a few more, actually. You need to hold 6 appointments in the course of the month, right? If you were to do 2 appointments a week, that's the standard for your business. If you hit 2 appointments a week, you've worked, you're on pace. If you hit more than 2, you're probably ahead of pace. That's awesome. However, I meet more realtors that are behind pace than ahead of pace. So if Friday comes around or Sunday comes around and you've only had 1 appointment or you haven't had any appointments, you're behind. So then the question becomes what are you going to do about it? And generally speaking, when you're behind, there's 2 things that you can do. One is you change the goal, right? And the other is you change the activity. When you change the goal, you're letting yourself down, right? When you created the goal, why did you create it? Just for fun? No, you created it because it's something that spoke to you, right? Because you envisioned accomplishing the goal and then using the money for something that was meaningful, right? Or using it as, I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this, or I'm going to prove to my kid that I can do this, right? So don't give up on the goal. Just get together with your sphere, your support team, and say, hey, I'm off track. I'd like for you to help me get back on track. Okay. And if you are willing to do that with somebody and you are willing to receive that accountability, you and your accountability partner your businesses will look 1,000 times different. Okay. So what are some strategies that we can employ to increase our accountability? Because if we're not used to going on 6 appointments a week, I'm sorry, 6 appointments a month, and we're not used to we're not used to sitting at the closing table twice a month, then we're going to have to do different activities than we're used to doing. And I suspect that all of us have had this happen at least once in your life, where you've said, I'm going to do such and such, and eventually you stop doing it, right? I'm going to stop eating fried food. I'm going to start eating chocolate at the office until the guy comes back and fills up the bucket, then I'm going to eat it again.
Anderson,
Right?
don't do that.
Sorry. Accountability
y'all.
is going to help you stay on track. So what can we do? We can have a partner for tracking our goals. Okay, so I'm going to pick my partner in the next 48 hours. And then we're going to check in at 6 p.m. each day by text and letting them know what the results of our activities were per day. And you're going to set expectations with your partner that says, hey, you're my partner and I'm taking this super seriously. And this is why. It's because I am riddled in debt and my family is eating rice and beans and I don't like this lifestyle and a lot of people are counting on me. And as a result, if I do this, all of my problems go away. And if I don't do this, then my life is not where I want it to be. Will you help me? Will you take this seriously? And they say, yeah. And you say, great. What is important to you? And I'll keep you in check too. The second your accountability partner slips, you got to look him in the face and say, hey, I'm taking this seriously and no judgment, but I need a partner that's taking this seriously. So you're fired and you go find a different one. Okay. You don't have to have an accountability partner in the Roswell Market Center. Actually, it might be kind of cool if you had an accountability partner in Chicago for Monday and St. Louis on Tuesday and Denver on Wednesday and San Diego on Thursday and Manhattan on Friday, right? Because now you got a bunch of people that are continuing to support your business, right? And if they have an opportunity in Atlanta, who do you think they're going to call? You think they're going to call somebody that you know has an accountable business, or one that they're just, kind of shot in the dark that they may be, a good agent, right? So all the time you should be thinking about, how am I going to grow my audience so that more people know I do what I do and I do it well? Does that make sense? So set the expectations for your accountability partner as stringent as you possibly can. Okay. I might have a different accountability partner for scripts and role play. Okay. So I'm going to check in with that person daily for 15 minutes. And we're going to talk from 7:30 to 7:45 each day. Okay. And we're going to run scripts based on, are we calling people to talk about expired listings? Are we talking to people about circle prospecting? Are we calling our sphere of influence? Give them some objections, get into the habit of knowing how to handle these different conversations. Okay. So much of this business is confidence, right? When you go and book an appointment, aren't you like super excited to go call the next person? That's confidence. That's evidence of success. So give yourself a chance to experience that every single day. Make sense? Okay, another one. Some people may be comfortable with this, some people may not be. And again, please shout it out if you got some ideas here. Share goals publicly. I don't think I spelled that right, publicly. We have agents that, let's say they're trying to get into a habit of running each day, right? So they post their stats at the end of the run. Okay, well, I ran around Piedmont Park, or, I ran from this corner of Roswell to that corner of Roswell, right? So if you do that 10 days in a row and then you stop for 3 days, people wonder if you're all right, right? Share your goals publicly. Don't be afraid to tell them, hey, I have a goal to sell 6 homes in the next 90 days. And when I do, I'm going to make a $5,000 donation to this charity. Who do you know that I can help? Wouldn't that be cool to write that check? Right? Get some buy-in from your people. Okay. We have another one that is, so let's say, are we going to do that daily, weekly? How are we going to do that? Okay. The next one is what I call a daily success list. Okay, so like, what are the standards that I have to accomplish each day for me to know that I have worked, right? So the things on a daily success list would be, did I make my 20 contacts? Did I post my social media? Did I check in with my accountability partner? Right? It could be, did I say my affirmations? Right? It could be, did I open command? I don't know why that's not working, right? Did I check my list of, like, my whiteboard, if you will, right? Have I looked to see who my the people that are getting closer and closer to their goals, to their deadlines? Have I checked in with everyone that I promised I'd check in with? Is anyone's lease expiring soon that I need to introduce to a mortgage person? Did I look in command to tell me who I need to touch or who I promised I'd execute on something today, right? So did I work today? And so obviously you need to know what work is. Well, work is doing the stuff that you tell me you want to do, because if you don't do it, first of all, it doesn't feel good, and second off, you're not going to hit your goals, and you're only disappointing yourself and everyone that counts on you. And if you do it, then my gosh, you got so much energy and you just feel like you're on top of the world, and you start feeling like you wanted to feel when you got your real estate license and helping a bunch of people and making good money, right? Another tool that we use for this is called the 4 conversations. Okay, we use this on the sales business. We also use this from a leadership perspective. So the 4 conversations, I'm going to stop the share and draw this out for you really fast. How we doing? Okay. Double thumbs up. You guys are so nice. Okay. Does anyone know what the 4 conversations are? Okay. 4 conversations look something like this. Can everyone see this? 4 boxes. Okay. So this is, I think of this as like your report card. Okay. So when you go to the doctor, they check how tall you are, they put you on the scale, they take your blood maybe, they take your pulse. And what they're trying to do is they're looking for clues that there may be something deeper going on, right? So if I went last year and I weighed 150 pounds, and then I went the year before and I weighed 145 pounds, and the year before I weighed 155 pounds, and I get there today and I weigh 180, the guy's like, whoa, dude, you all right? I'm seeing some trends that make me a little concerned, right? Or I have some deeper questions for you. So the only way that we can identify where there's gaps in your world, whether they be professional or personal or whatever, is because you're tracking over time, right? We all have something called the multi-year trends, just as a little bit of a sidebar. The Market Center has that from a leadership perspective, and each of the agents has that. So you can go in and see, how many appointments did I go on in February? This is, of course, if you log it, right? How many listings did I take in February? How many listings did I take previous February? How many listings did I take the previous February? And you can notice any trends. So for example, I've looked at Market Center or agent multi-year trends, that this agent, they appear to have a really great business, but they have never taken a listing in February. Okay. There's a story there. What's the story? Right? The story is you probably took a month off in December. And if you're cool with that, then great. But if you're not cool with that, then let's talk about how we can rearrange your schedule so that you can start taking listings in February. But awareness is the step number 1. If you don't even know you have that thing going on, then you can't do anything about it, right? So we can do this 4 conversations from a monthly standpoint. Okay. So this is, here, I'll do it this way. The first box is seller listings. I'm sorry, seller listing appointments. Okay. The second box is seller listings taken. The third box is closings. That includes buyers too. And the fourth box is profit. Okay. So profit, by the way, presupposes that you are tracking all the dollars that are coming in and all the dollars that are leaving your organization. Okay. Which, by the way, presupposes that you have business accounts and that you're potentially an LLC and that you mentally think about your organization like a business and that you're examining every dollar that goes out. With our productivity people, right, exactly, your P&L. With our productivity people, we've spent some time on trying to cut your expenses, right? Are there any, big or small, is there anything in your world right now that is not particularly important? Bless you, because right now we have a global pandemic. And if there's any money that can be trimmed from your personal or business budget, I highly recommend that we do that. Keller Williams from On Top is encouraging us all to cut our budgets by 20%. Have you looked at your budget to see if there's anything that is not worthwhile, right? Can you get rid of $50, $150, $250 per month, right? I think that'll make a big difference. So, off my soapbox. In our example, it would look something like this. Okay, it would look something like this. Our goal, we split this in two, goal and actual. So goal is that we're going to go on, I'm sorry, it would look like this. This is 3 listing appointments. Sorry, guys. It would be 3 listing appointments per month, 2 listings taken per month, 2 closed units per month, buyer included, 1 seller, 1 buyer, and then roughly $20-ish, $21,000 in earnings per month based on our 90-day plan. So if you put this up in front of you when you're working, and this is the single most important thing that you need to be focused on each day, which is, if my business is going to achieve what it needs to achieve from a financial perspective, I better go on 3 listing appointments this month. And it's very black and white. I either did it or I didn't. And that's going to result in a very black and white result. Did you hit your financial goal or did you not? Right? And out of those 3 sellers that I sit down with, I'm going to select the 2 that I want to do business with. Did you hear what I said? You're going to select the 2, not giving them the power. You're going to go in there prepared. You're going to go in there confident. You're going to know what to say and when to say it. And then when they give you the reason to believe that they're going to be a pleasure to work with and that there's a chance that you can help them get to where they want to be, then you will select them as your client. If they are a bigot, or they don't listen to anything you suggest, or they don't take any of your advice, or they never return your phone calls, or they're rude, or they're late to every single appointment, you may choose to not select them. That's the beautiful thing about this business, is we get to pick who we work with. Make sense? Do you run a business that has those types of standards? Or do you just work with whoever's willing to work with you? Make sense? So this is up in front of us all the time, basically saying, are you on track? What's your report card? Right? And this becomes the measure of how you're doing, right? Do you need help? Right? So if you don't put up enough numbers here, then you need help probably on the scripting and the lead generation and the time management. If you don't put enough numbers up here, then you have a breakdown here. And that breakdown is going to be with your presentations, most likely. If you're not putting up enough numbers here, then what you have an issue with bulletproofing the transaction, or setting appropriate expectations, or how frequently you're communicating with your prospects, or not prospects, but clients. And if you don't put up enough numbers here, it probably means that one of these numbers is low, or you happen to be working with people at a lower price range than you had estimated at the beginning. Does that make sense? Okay, so then we can go back to our screen here. All right. Now, so what are we going to do? We're going to do our 4 conversations, and we're going to update constantly, and we're going to look at daily. Right? Now, in our productivity coaching group, for example, I ask that people report their numbers weekly, even if they're low and even if they're 0. Because again, awareness is the first thing that you've got to do. Because if you're not aware you have a lead gen problem, or you're not aware your database isn't big enough to have to spit out the number of units that you want it to spit out, well, nothing's going to get any better, right? So that's the 4 conversations, right? What is it telling us, and how frequently are you allowing it to tell you that? All right, let's stop for 2 seconds. Who's got some questions thus far? And who, does anyone want to tweak anything that I've written here?
Just checking to see if you could hear me now. You can't hear me now.
Does this make sense? Have you ever heard the 135 or the GPS explained this way? Does anyone think that what I've suggested is crazy talk? Okay, beautiful. Thank you. All right, now, the tool is only as good as how frequently you look at it, right? Has anyone made has anyone, yeah, there, Michael, I can talk with you about some samples, some additional stuff. I can show you mine, and from a number of different goals, that kind of stuff. We can certainly talk about that. If you make a vision board and then you don't look at it, it's a big waste of time, right? So let's talk a little bit about what we do with this tool. Okay, so this tool is a tool that I tend to look at this tool about once a month. Okay, and every time that there's like a new initiative, if you will, right? So we've had a few different kind of series of goals for the PC program, for example, right? So our initial goal was within 90 days, we're going to launch. 90 days later, I want 10% of the office in the PC program. Okay, we got that in like less than 2 weeks. So it was like, okay, what are we doing now? So that we cast a new vision, we set a new plan, and that's going to require a different set of tasks, which is going to make my 135 different, which is going to make my 411 different, which is going to make my calendar different, right? So as goals change or as new initiatives are released, and COVID came, so then it's like, okay, well, you know, we have to change how we meet with people, or we have to change who we can call and when we can call and what we talk about, right? So as your goals are changing, we're going to need to revisit the 135. Okay, so I have a my sheet kind of looks like this at the moment. Okay, I have a sheet here that has my real bullet point for my PC program goals, my sales team goals, okay, and it includes a couple profit share goals. This is my growth plan. So this is what am I doing each month to make myself a better human being so that I have a better shot at accomplishing these goals, right? And then on the back is the 2 135s that I spend the most time looking at, which are for my PC program and for my sales team, okay? And so every day in 2 seconds, you could say, hey, show me your 135. I'm like, okay, here it is. I look at it every day. What do you want from me? Right? You want to know what my 411 looks like? Boom, right here. Shift book right there. I mean, I know what the most important things are, and I'm staring at it all day. Okay? And that's how you're going to be successful. Okay? So my every time that this changed, I just printed a different one 2 days ago because we keep increasing our goals. Okay? So I had to tweak everything. I had to go back from the very beginning and create my plan moving forward. Okay, so with all that said, once we have this 135, what are we going to do with that? So the next thing we're going to do, and maybe we'll do a different seminar on this in light of the time, but the next tool that we use is called the 411. So if we know that we need to hold 6 appointments a month, then we know that we need to hold at least 1 a week, but probably 2 a week, right? And so when we look at the 411 is I got one goal I've got my annual goals, then I've got my monthly goals, and then I'm going to break that down into week by week, 4 weeks in order to achieve my monthly goal. So for example, if I want to let's just keep the math simple for a second. I know that I need 4 appointments a month, then I'm going to need to accomplish on average 1 a week. And so every week I'm updating my 411 to say, how many did I have this week? I had 1, great, I'm on pace. Had 2, awesome, I can take an afternoon off. I didn't have any, all right, I'm going to need to increase my effort. And so when am I going to do that? So instead of lead generating for 2 hours a day, maybe I need 2.5 hours a day. And am I going to have to cancel something or say no to something that I'm not used to canceling or saying no to, so that I can replace that with the time I'm going to need to keep my business afloat? Make sense? So the 135 tells you basically what should I be putting on my 411, which tells you when is all that stuff going to happen, right? You say you want to read 20 books this year. You say you want to lose 20 pounds and you're going to need to exercise to do it. You say you need to save up a certain number of dollars to buy the investment property. Okay, when is all that stuff going to happen, right? And that is where the calendar comes into effect, right? So where on the calendar is going to be the time that you're going to do all this stuff? Does that make sense? So we're not perfect, okay? And I'll be vulnerable here. I have had register for my broker's test on here for damn near a year, okay? However, every week I remind myself, because it's still on here, okay? But I will tell you that me building the productivity coaching program is more important. And do I need a broker's license to do that? No. And therefore, every week I have to reprioritize the list of stuff that I've told myself at some point in the past it's important. But you know what? Didn't make the list this week. And it's probably not going to make the list next week. But come Sunday, when I update this thing, I'm going to remind myself, hey, you said you wanted to be on a podcast. It's been on there for a while. Hadn't seen you on a podcast. So what are you doing to make sure that happens? I kind of was on one. I taught a profit share class to a market center in Cincinnati a few weeks ago. Does that count? I don't know. It's kind of cool, right? I did check it off, just so you know. But that's my point. So here's your plan. Here's your priorities. Now, when is it going to happen? Okay. And then the question becomes is, how am I doing? And then we go back to the accountability. Do you have people in your world that are helping you stay on track? Right? Because there was a time, and I think this is to get vulnerable with you for a second, in my recruiting efforts and as my time as a TL and as my time now, I have seen a lot of agents that are not on pace for their goals. And I've also witnessed many agents that have been essentially forced to leave the business because they ran out of money, right? And that pains me more than you will ever realize, okay? Because there was a moment that they dreamed of having this awesome lifestyle and making great money and helping people build wealth and helping people buy homes and, you know, sell homes and these kind of things. And then somewhere along the way, that dream kind of deteriorated. And if I can be very blunt with you, it most likely happened because they didn't have a plan or they didn't stick to their plan. And they didn't have anyone in their world that they trusted that could put their hand on their shoulder and say, hey, Bill, you said you wanted to lose 20 pounds. I'm at the gym every day at 6 and I hadn't seen you. What's going on? Right? And that's not being rude. If you've given that person the permission to hold you accountable, that's being straight up. Make sense? Okay. So I'll talk to the team and maybe I'll do a 411 class on going into a little bit more detail on transferring all the things that we did from our 135 to the 411. But essentially what's going to happen is everything that you've committed to, if we go back to the 135 here, or GPS, I'm sorry, right? If we're going to call 10 expireds a day, and if we're going to spend $100 a month, and if we're going to share our app with 5 people a day, and if we're going to share our goals publicly every day, look, you've created a lot of work. So now you have to essentially have a checklist that shows you or reminds you what your commitments are. And again, it's a lot, but this is not a small goal, right? But you said it because it speaks to you and because other people are counting on you, right? Who would be affected if you put in 60 grand into your checkbook over the course of the next 3 months? That would make a substantial impact on, I think, everyone's life here. Yes? Pay off a little debt, go on vacation, have a little nest egg, buy an investment property, support a charity. These are beautiful things if we have the cash to do it, right? Money's good if you do good things with it. Money's bad if you do bad things with it, right? So, we are so lucky that we have a real estate license and we are salespeople that don't have to own any of the inventory that we sell. And every single human being on the planet is a potential customer. There are no other businesses like that. And all you have to do is be willing to share your goal and to find people that are willing to help you execute the plan and hold you accountable. And that's what these tools are all about. Okay. So when I suggest using these tools, it's not for work's sake. It's so that you can have a better shot at achieving your goals. Right. And we're probably going to have to double or triple or quadruple our efforts in light of the COVID stuff to stay on track with what we had originally wanted to do at the beginning of the year. All right. Any last questions, comments, complaints, feedback? You mentioned, are you still typing, I guess? Okay. Anyone else? All right. I will be uploading this to our Roswell Facebook page. Give me just an hour or two to do that, maybe a little longer. And if you have any questions about this tool or you want to brainstorm, beautiful. You want to brainstorm some of the ideas that I mentioned, please let me know. And I'm proud of all you guys. I appreciate you taking the investment of your time to be with me today. And my hope is that you have some more clarity, or once you create it, right, you have some more clarity on what you have to do each day. Because if you don't know what your priorities are, the world will tell you. The world will tell you what your priorities are, because you will find them in text messages and emails and Facebook and that kind of thing, right? you don't know what to do every day. You just look on your email and the world will tell you what to do. And you'll be busy all day long, and then you'll look at your book and say, wait, I didn't book any appointments today. Right. To charity for anyone who connects you to a buyer. Yeah, sure. You know, I think that people buy what you do, or I'm sorry, why you do it rather than what you do. So if like part of your, if when people think of your organization, they think of the fact that you, I don't know, support a homeless association or support a, you know, rescue dogs or something, then that's just one more audience that you can appeal to, right? We have an agent that contributes and uses her time to invest in, what do you call it? Rescue cats, right? So she like, what do you call it? Like a rehomes cats. There's a cat out there named Billy somewhere. She named one after me. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the investment of your time, and I wish you all the best. Call me if you need me.